station 4 with 4111.
4112-0922, 9840, Southwest 136th Street, 109.
What the hell is this? Bullshit. I think there's a prowler in the Wiley's driveway.
God damn it, lady! What's happening in there? Open the door! Oh my God! You should have stayed in bed! Oh, too much, man. Help! Help! Stay away from me, lady, or I'll rip you up, too! Nat! Nat! Oh, Nat! 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 Say something, Nat! Nat, please! Say something! Nat, please! Nat, help! Nat! Nat, please! Nat! 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 Say something,
Somebody
please.
call the police.
Please help! Oh, please help!
You alive, Margaret?
Oh, he must be listening!
We'll get him to the hospital.
Do something!
Door's locked, damn it! I'll get mine.
I saw a man running down the street, and I'll swear that son of a bitch threw something in that sewer over there.
Let's look.
Why not?
You'll be all right, Nat. Say something, please. Nat! Nat!
This is Officer Jackson. Officer Jackson is a very young, very new, very dedicated policeman. And he has just arrived to take charge of one of the messiest murders any of you is likely to see. You already know that Officer Jackson has problems. Two people looking in the sewer are already ahead of him. He doesn't know what you know. He has only procedure to guide him.
Please. 1113 emergency.
1113.
Somebody in ambulance on 3, got a person shot.
In a few moments, Officer Jackson will have help. An ambulance, a backup unit, probably 2 or 3. His shift sergeant, the medical examiner, the crime lab people, newspaper reporters, and maybe a judge who lives down the block. But right now, Officer Jackson is on his own in a violent crime scene. He is at the low end of a rising totem pole, which is out of control, or was until he arrived. For these moments, Officer Jackson is all the authority in this little world, and what he does or does not do is the name of a great idea. It's called justice. How do you write a book about this? There aren't any words. There is only justice on the end of a pole. But that justice will be constructed of the loose ends of this night. And Officer Jackson has the loose ends in his hands. The preservation of a crime scene is a job for angels. Long after this night, the information contained in the facts of this scene will bear upon a man's fate in a court of law, or in a bar where that man tells the story of how his friend got away with murder. All Officer Jackson knows is that he has 2 dead bodies and a seriously injured man.
Yes, you some man. Oh, please do something. He was unshaven, and he was wearing a white shirt, and he was dressed with blue pants, ragged looking, you know, and he went running that way, but please get
In
up.
talking to this distraught woman, Jackson will learn that she saw a 23 to 26-year-old man, Caucasian, dressed in t-shirt and jeans, run from the scene carrying a weapon.
1113.
1113.
Bolo, reference my 330. Have all units be on a lookout for a white male, 23 to 26 years of age, 5'10", 160 to 165 pounds.
Somewhere within the immediate
Unshaved,
neighborhood, there is an armed and dangerous
white
man.
shirt,
Jackson
blue
thinks
jeans,
him to be on foot
last
and
seen
can describe him
1
generally.
north or
He
northwest
must
77
communicate that information as quickly as
186th
possible. Arriving units may see the killer. Additional patrol units may discover him. For the moment, Officer Jackson has other responsibilities. This event began for Officer Jackson when he was instructed by a dispatcher that a citizen had reported a shooting at a certain address. At that moment, a set of operating procedures on a piece of paper or from a classroom became the most important single elements in the rendering of justice. Because he was close to the scene, his ability to respond quickly was a judgment of the dispatcher. Modern patrol procedure requires a quick response. The sooner authority is on the scene, the greater the chance of aiding the injured, preserving the scene, apprehending the suspect, retaining the witnesses. However, Officer Jackson's first rule is much more simple than those complicated tasks. He has to arrive safely. A safe and orderly response is first. Once on the scene, the officer is bound to attend the injured unless assault is still in progress. Even had he observed a suspect fleeing the scene, he would have been wrong to pursue until he had first attended the needs of the victim or victims. Having attended to Mr. Miller, Jackson was next obliged to investigate the extent of the crime. Determining the Wileys dead, he must next secure the scene as best he can, starting with the interior of the house and working outward to the perimeters of the property and beyond if necessary. Having requested an ambulance for Mr. Miller, communicated the situation to his dispatcher, he must retain and identify witnesses in an orderly fashion. Mr. Miller is unconscious. Mrs. Miller, his next most important witness, will not leave her husband. The delicacy of this situation is obvious, and it is a matter of judgment on Jackson's part. He must be reasonably certain that Miller will not regain consciousness, even for a brief, coherent moment. A dying statement is not admissible. A declaration is admissible evidence. Miller is his witness. If he leaves this man, it must only be to retain other witnesses of equal importance who are about to disperse.
Officer! Officer, come here!
Information obtained from Mr. Miller may be absolutely vital to the apprehension and conviction of the offender. Jackson should learn as much as he can about the identity of the offender, description, clothing, direction and method of flight, things to search for, possible motive.
Only a kid.
Miller may not live long enough to give the information later. Everything that Officer Jackson has observed, the statements and identity of all witnesses, must be recorded in an orderly and concise system of notes. In court 6 months or a year from now, Jackson's ability to recount the events of these few moments will be vital. His actions must be precise, automatic, calculated. Officer Jackson is trying to stop time, to seize and hold the moments of this event until everything which occurred here can be examined, reconstructed, made to fit. He's at a great disadvantage. The normal flow of time is his enemy.
5'10".
Fingerprint evidence on this door handle was obliterated by a helpful citizen. The tools of this bench were disturbed by a well-meaning man, and the fingerprints on the screwdriver are now his. 2 curious citizens have entered the house and further destroyed evidence. Others are searching for evidence because they think it's fun. No one knows the importance of this discarded cigarette butt. Time is the enemy here.
I got a souvenir for you, son.
Sir, where did you find this gun?
Next to Mr. Miller up in the carport.
South End, the 32 not confirmed. Repeat, vehicle reddish brown, 68 Chevy.
What is your first name?
John.
Curiosity seekers appear at most violent crime scenes, and they don't know the harm they're
Your
doing.
address?
They're responding to something very basic in all people, to want a piece of the action, to want a share of the adrenaline-producing aspects of a significant event. The curiosity of ordinary people can destroy evidence faster than weather. Help is within hearing now. Other, more experienced officers, crime lab specialists, medical personnel, people to help in the control of the scene are arriving to begin the solution of the crime. There may be other contributions Officer Jackson will be called upon to make in the conduct of this investigation. He may be required to accompany Mr. Miller to the hospital so that additional testimony can be obtained and clothing retrieved at the hospital. If the offender is arrested, Officer Jackson will undoubtedly be required to appear at the trial to give testimony of his own. He will have to fill in detectives here at the scene. But the most important contributions for Officer Jackson end here. The patrol responsibility has been met, correctly or incorrectly, the moment Officer Jackson relinquishes this scene to superior officers. He did it right, or he blew it for everyone. His job was not to solve the crime. Possibly, it was more difficult than that. What have we asked this young policeman to do in the name of justice? That he arrive upon the scene quickly, but safely. That he attend the wounded as the first priority, and that he call his requirements for assistance. That he ascertain the extent of the crime, gain as much information about the suspect as is quickly possible, and that he report it with dispatch. That he preserve the crime scene, beginning with the immediate area of the event and outward to the farthest perimeter he deems necessary, and can effect without assistance. That he identify witnesses and interview those apparently most able to explain the situation. That he record at the soonest opportunity the events he has observed, names, times, position of people and things, weather, and testimony given him. That he accept physical evidence gathered by others present, and that, through proper labeling, he identify it, establishing the chain through which he received it, and that he preserve it to the best of his ability thereafter. All a loan officer has in this situation is procedure, a way to go about his job. The situations will change over and over again. But the procedure will make him a good officer no matter where, no matter how, who, when, or what. And there are reasons for the rules.
First rule is don't mess your own bed. Don't flip a cigarette on the lawn, because that little flip can confuse the issue. We're our own worst enemies. We need a drink of water, we pick up a glass in that kitchen and take a drink. We use the bathroom, flush the stool, wash our hands, use a towel, close a door, pick up an ashtray, throw a cigar in the fireplace, and then ask the crime lab to reconstruct us. We're beautiful. We should get 1,000 do not disturb signs and cover the place. But if we did, we'd smudge some prints. The preservation of physical evidence is one thing. Collecting it is a job for specialists, technicians, and lab people. They're the people with the time. The first officer on this scene has to grab time and squeeze it. The investigative principles here are basic. The transfer of materials underlies the whole thing. An armed robber comes on this scene. He leaves something, and he takes something away. I don't care how minute. He leaves footprints, fingerprints, bullets, weapons, tools, tool marks, blood, fluid, semen, fiber, something, and he takes something with him. You match what he left with what he took, and that's physical evidence. All the first officer on the scene is asked to do is nothing, and that's the hardest part. Don't touch anything. Don't move anything. Don't walk around and mess up the footprints. Don't do anything. Just get here fast, stop the bleeding, calm the citizens, call for help, and sit on it. That's it. Oh, well, he has to get the witnesses, write it all down so he can remember it, and keep the chain of evidence intact. It's a hell of a job. Just about the worst.
One-lane expressway now open at 15th southbound. Continue diverting 2 lanes. Permit 2 lanes to start south on expressway.
This young officer has had a world of violence in his hands for an hour. Now he'll leave to find a new one. All he has to work with is procedure. Do it right, we catch a murderer. Do it wrong, we all blow it. That is the justice of the job.